completely different, as is my whole month, as is my life, really.
It's amazing what you're saying, and it's a journey, and you've been through a lot, but doing a deep dive into so many different areas, and this real self-awareness of how different things affect you. So you talked about alcohol, you've talked about caffeine, you've talked about the changes that you've made in what you eat. I think all of these have created a real difference in your menstrual cycle. So if someone's listening and they really connect with what you're saying and they say, well, I'm having issues with my period, I want to try this whole journaling practice, where would you recommend that they start?
Yeah. So start at the start, I guess. If you know, and you're somehow, you're tracking on an app, and you know what day you're on, start today. Pull out a little notebook that you like to write in. Get something that you actually really like to pull out, like it can just be a little one. That's nice and soft, and a nice pen to write with it, and put it by your bed, or maybe in your most comfy chair. So if you know where you are already, I didn't, you can start on that day. If you don't know where you are, wait until day one. So day one is first proper bleed, not spotting, but the first full bleed. And you can do this in different ways. So what I did was, at first I used to put the headings down. So I would put down, how am I feeling physically? If you want to know how you are around your nutrition, put a little header down on the page. I use just a small little notepad. So this can be really as bullet point as you want, or as beautiful and elaborate on an essay as you want. Pick a couple of ways, a couple of headliners, I guess. Do pick about your emotions, because that's one of the biggest things. And you can put down spiritual now, because, do you meditate, or do you sit in silence? It doesn't even have to be meditated. What is your spiritual practices? So maybe, if you're starting off, pick 3 things, because 3 is a lovely number, right? And especially when you say it in an Irish accent. Pick 3 things that you want to track, and every day, at the end of your day, just write down how you're feeling. So, I imagined tonight I'll be writing down that I feel clear, because I feel quite clear today, and I feel quite grounded actually as well. What I found was, if you even set, because like I say, if you don't journal, this might be a bit of a task for you, right? Because you might be resisting it a little bit. Write a word. Start with 1 word. Ideally 3 words per each. Like, if it's physical or emotional or food, or how you feel about your business or your kids, if there might be, whatever way you're feeling. And then if you miss it, do it every day. And if you miss a day, don't worry about it. I don't do it every single day. Sometimes I go back to it and I write a couple of words in if I forget. But especially when I was starting out, and for the last, the initial 2 years, every single day. But the most important thing is that you're tracking it, right? And think about I guess the nicest thing to think about is, I'm going to have this wisdom next month. So I'm going to be able to flick back the pages and look at this next month. There is another way you can do it as well. You could take 1 page, split it in 4. So you can actually split it in 4 and put what day you're on that page. And then you could use it for the next 4 months. So you could use that 4 quadrant and then use it for 4 months. Find whatever way. Find what suits you best. So each woman will have a preference. Each woman, and for the more creative women, they might want to draw something. But I think the words are really, really important as well, because you want to really remember. You think you're going to remember, you don't. There's too much going on in our lives. So and enjoy it. I think, like, have a sip of hot water and create a ritual around it. Or if it's literally, I don't have time for this, I'm literally going to scribble down a few words, then so be it. I think the best thing to do is start and look forward to your own inner wisdom and intuition, and empower yourself by starting.
Great. And Jill, just start. I think those are really wise words. And so they start journaling, and then they get a set of information. what would you say to the woman who is in the, 2 months from now has said, okay, I've listened to the podcast episode, I've started journaling, and now what?
I guess, what do you want out of it? So maybe like with the starting, what is it you're looking for? Look, I've two schools of thought on this. One is that the women that will take it up fastest, it'll be the women like myself that wanted to find out and to solve it. Your trigger is usually if you've got some pain or angst or anguish around it, right? So there'll be the women that'll be like, they will have a very clear purpose from what they want, a desired outcome from what they want from it. So you will start to see trends. And for the woman that's like, okay, I'm going to give this a go because I want to know more about myself, it's the same answer actually. Flick back through your journal. So when you're at a certain point in time, you might be on day 4 or 5, and actually let me give you this. On day 4 or 5 is is a beautiful time, is a brilliant time to set your vision for the month, or it might even be a vision for the next 6 months, because you've got incredible clarity about what is important to you. Once you get past that, or the creative flow comes in. So if you want to, that's one reason to look at it, right? To go, okay, when do I want to set my vision for my life? It's looking back at your trends really. So you've done 2 months and you're like, okay, what now? Start to look back at it and start to reflect and start to look at the trends and the patterns that are happening and go, oh, this is interesting. What it'll do is it will spur you on. It'll spur you on to keep going and to keep doing it. It might create new ideas around, oh, what else would I like to know about? I think it's nice to read back over it. It might be that you want to, I don't know, change something in your diet, change something in your lifestyle, bring in a new habit. Maybe you want more sleep. Can you see any new patterns of where you need it? Actually, if you've been writing that you've been tired a lot at different places, I can guarantee that most of us are more tired than we think we are, and sleep will always make your period a little bit and life easier. So I think it's like picking up little nuggets of wisdom that you've shared with yourself, and say thanks very much for doing it, and hopefully encourage you to keep doing it and to take what you want out of it. I think that's the most important. You will glean whatever intuition that you need. It'll be individual to each of you.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Back Yourself mentoring, and the work that you do with women to get them connected with their ambition?
Yes. So it's actually this time 2 years ago I set up Back Yourself Mentoring. I launched it this time last year. This time 2 years ago, sorry. And so it is specifically, it's all around empowerment. And the irony of all of this is that the menstrual cycle is now very much part of it as well. So where it started out from was to offer women the opportunity of having a mentor, because sometimes it is really difficult to find another woman, and it's all women. So it's mentors matching women who are career women that are looking to make changes in their career. And it can be stepping up, stepping out, or stepping back in. It can be running your own business, it could be a freelancer, whatever it is. But it's actually empowering her to give her new opportunities and new ideas. And that's what other women gifted me throughout my life and career. And so I create relationships between mentors and mentees. And obviously, as I have journeyed over the last 2 years, so has the circle of women and the community and what we're doing. And I now speak to women in women's groups around menstruation, because it's part of the empowerment journey. Unless we accept ourselves and look after ourselves and self-care, you'll burn out, right? We'll be disconnected, which is where I was. So the idea is that we come back to ourselves, we come home and we feel more empowered. And so I go into businesses and talk about menstrual cycles and empowering women, about reconnecting with ourselves through different practices, which ultimately will allow women to choose work and life ambitions that are right for them, rather than maybe what they're being given or maybe having to just take or receive. The platforms are different, right? I have group coaching and mentoring programs for women and women's circles to do online or face to face. But the key for me is that the empowerment journey started with my menstrual cycle, I think, and then came into Back Yourself Mentoring with the whole premise about we back ourselves and each other and empower each other to choose the life that we want, right?
What a wonderful mission. If listeners, if they take one thing from all of the wise words that you've shared, what would you want that to be?
Follow your own rhythm. Each one of us need to follow our own rhythm, and that rhythm is your inner rhythm and the inner cycle and your inner flow, and the outer cycles that have happened. And the outer rhythms that are happening all the time. My part of my journey has been to reconnect with the planet as well, right? So if we care for ourselves and follow our own rhythms, you'll always choose what's right for you. You'll choose what's in alignment with your body and with your soul, and follow your own rhythm.
I love that. Follow your own rhythm. So if listeners want to find out more about Back Yourself Mentoring and want to get involved with what you do, how would they connect with you?
Yeah, so you can email me at hello@backyourselfmentoring.com. Our website is the same, it's www.backyourselfmentoring.com, and you can find me on Instagram. It's Susan Sheehan. It's got underscore at the start and at the end. Just drop me an email. Love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Susan.
Thank you, Lenise. I've had such good fun. Thank you. What you're doing is fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you to today's guest and to you for taking the time out of your day to listen to Period Story. Music is Modern Jazz Samba by Kevin MacLeod. You can find show notes and links to things mentioned on this episode on www.periodstorypod.com. If you love this episode, then it would mean so much if you could head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, or leave a review. Thank you, and see you next week.